Hey guys, it's Jackye Mumphrey, the Real Estate Maven, and thank you so much for watching this video. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for coming back to check out this video. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so now. I talk about real estate on my content, about the Mableton area, Atlanta as a whole, my journey as a real estate, and answer questions for people who are interested in real estate here in our market. So don't want to take too much of your time tonight, but wanted to hop on and just talk about what's going on specifically in the Mableton area. It's an area that I specialize in. I do sell all over Atlanta metro area, selling a multitude of different types of products and homes and buildings and things, but I do specialize and I am known most for selling here in Mableton. So wanted to give you a few stats just so you guys would know what's going on here for the fall. I have 3 sets of stats, one for the last 365 days, one for the last 6 months, and one for the last 30 days. So let's get into it. So over the last year in Mableton for listed sales, and these stats are coming from FMLS, which is a multiple listing service that I'm a member of. According to their statistics, we're looking at 664 homes that have sold in the last 365 days. The lowest home that came onto the market and sold in the last year in Mableton was $85,000. That was the cheapest listed property, sold for $60 a square foot. The largest home was 1.95 million was the list price, but only sold at 1.5 million. The square footage on that one was 6,952 square feet, sold at 306 per square foot, and was on the market over a year. So it was on the market for 415 days. The average sales price in Mableton over the last year is going to be for a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home, list price at $353,655, and selling just a little bit higher at $356 on average, for a home that's going to be 2,465 square feet, selling at $146 per square foot, and selling in only 16 days. So that's not bad for the last year. And so far, there was a total of $234,826,656 in property value that traded hands between buyers and sellers. For the past 6 months, we had 306 properties closed in the last 6 months. So we're at a pretty good clip here in Mableton. Again, the lowest price in the last year, also in the last 6 months, at $85,000. The highest was the 1.9 listed, only sold for 1.5. So they had to shave off about $400,000 to get that price sold or get that property moved. The square footage again was 6,892 on that. And it sold at $250 per square foot. And it did take over a year at 415 days. Now, in the last 6 months, again, we're looking at 4-bedroom, 3-bath. The sales price was $341. So compare that over the last year. The average price has actually dropped in Mableton. So over the past year, the average was $356. In the last 6 months, the average is $341, $213. Square footage just a little bit larger. So over 6 months, they have sold for less money with bigger homes and less per square foot. We're dropping about $10 per square foot down to $137 per square foot in 21 days on the market, when for the year it was 16 days on the market. So the last 6 months overall, it's taken 5 extra days to sell. So that would mean that our market is kind of slipping just a little bit. I am starting to see a lot of price reductions, and not every market throughout the Atlanta metro area is having the same performance. Now, this is what brings me to this, and this is why I did a live on this. This market is so weird. So you just heard me say over the last year in Mableton specifically, we're looking at 16 days on market. We're looking at 356, 623 as a average sales price. And basically average, for those who don't know about average versus median, average is just the combination of everything that is sold divided by the number that have sold, which give you the average price. Median means basically the price in the middle, where 50% of the people spend above that, 50% of the people sell below that. So that's median versus average. But we've got in the last 6 months, 341. So let me start again. So a year ago, or within the last year, 356 was the average price. Last 6 months, 341 was the average price. And then in the last 30 days, we're looking at 401. Like that's 60 grand. So in the last 30 days in Mableton, the average price went up, right? So, and the square footage went up. We went up another 100 square feet, and we went up $22 in square foot, and we went down in the amount of days. So I suspect my realtor fillers tell me that we are looking at new construction being added into the averages because it does not have here the average age of home, which typically, if you take out new construction, most of the houses on average are going to be built in Mableton around 2007, because that was right before our debacle that we had in '08. So we have a large bulk of homes built then, a large bulk of homes built after, but on typically our age of home is starting to get newer because we're getting a lot more new construction in the area. They've got new apartments that are coming in off of Floyd Road. They have up near in Austell at Floyd and East-West Connector. They're going to have condos that they're building there. There's new construction that's being considered off of Honeycutt Road at Mableton Parkway. There is new construction on Floyd Road across the street from Floyd Middle and the Kroger over there. There is just new construction being considered by Trayton Homes off of Clay Road. We have new construction that is off of Old Powder Springs Road in Mableton. New constructions on Veterans Memorial further down on the Austell side. And new construction on Pebblebrook Road. So a lot of that is kind of bulking up the numbers for Mableton. So that's a good thing. We like to see prices go up, but you guys do want to keep in mind, if you are a seller, I am seeing price reductions for the properties that were overpriced back in the summer that still hadn't sold, or if they had a magnitude or just a crazy amount of buyers that were interested in the summer when we were super red hot. Some of those deals have fallen through, and some of these sellers are, going on their second and third contract trying to sell. Because they threw their house on the market, didn't properly prep it, didn't feel that they needed to because they had a ton of buyers that were coming to look at their home. And so, appraisals are falling through, inspections. You can blow a home sale with an inspection. Had one that fell apart last week where we found out there was mold in the crawl space, and the house was built in the 1960s. And we found out that the cause was primarily that the downspouts at the bottom of the gutters were turned to a point to where the water was going into the crawl space. And with that sitting up in there with the warm weather we've had and humidity, it started to get some mold that was growing underneath the bottom of the house on the joist. So it was a very concentrated area. It was just a couple areas about the size of a small dinner plate. The seller said they would go ahead and have it remediated, taken care of, fix the problem, turn the gutters, dry it out and all that. But the buyer walked. And the buyer had offered $5,000 over list price, and they chose to walk. So, people will rush, and they had the first offer in. People will rush to write offers, but unless that house is prepped perfectly, the buyers will walk. And I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm not seeing as many blind offers as we were this time last year. Not seeing as many bidding wars. I've had properties where, I had over 140. I had one house, I had 138 people see that house in 2 days, and we ended up getting 20 offers on it. And the property ended up, hey, Stacy, the property bidded up to about $20,000 over list price. And we ran that deal all the way to the day of closing, and the buyer walked on the day of closing because they found out that they couldn't rent the property because due to the time that we were under contract, the HOA changed the rules about rentals. So the buyer walked. So we had all of these buyers lined up. And then when we went back to try to engage these buyers, the other 19, they had all kind of flown off and started looking at other property. And we had to start all over again and find another buyer, which we did. And we were fortunately able to close it in about 14 days. So it worked out for the seller. We still got over list price But I say all that to say that not every listing is going to fly off the market. Not every listing is going to make it to closing unless the home is properly prepped, it appraises, before then it shows well, smells good, and you're able to entertain all of the interest that you have and try to culminate all that into a buyer's market or a bidding war for your house. But not everybody's experiencing that because you just can't throw anything onto the market anymore. The buyers have gotten savvy. And at the turn of the year, and I have another video that I'll post, but at the turn of the year, with the current administration that we have, and I know I've gotten away from statistics, but with the current administration in office right now, we are looking at the moratoriums rolling off of the majority of the loans that are in arrears right now in the beginning of the year. So what does that mean to a homeowner? If you are thinking about selling in the spring, start planning now. Start clean out your house, declutter, start selling things, decide what you're going to donate, what you're going to give away, and start prepping. Even if you may not even be thinking about selling and you're watching this video, clean out your house if you haven't in a while, because you don't always want to carry the weight of everything that you've been holding into the new year. So think about that. But if you're selling, start now. I get people to tell me all the time, oh, I can turn this house around in 2 weeks. It's like 2 months later and they're still going through closets and taking things out. And that affects how a house shows, then in turn affects what kind of offers you get, which in turn then affect what you make when you go to sell your house. So if you're thinking about selling in the spring, the time to start doing something about it is in October and November, just so that you can hit the ground running when it's time, knowing that you're going to have to be competing with all of the homes that are going to be coming onto the market when these moratoriums come off from the foreclosures with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA. Some of the foreclosures that you're seeing now are from private lenders. Some are with smaller banks that don't run with the guidelines, because they're not a government loan. There might be private money. So you're going to see those. You're going to see tax liens come back because the counties are going to want to start collecting some of this past tax debt, because for people in the last 18 months who haven't been paying their mortgage, they typically aren't paying their insurance and they're not typically paying their property taxes. So they're going to be looking for that. So anyway, getting back to the stats. The last 30 days is actually pretty surprising in Mableton, with that bump up going from over the last 6 months. We were looking at 341 as an average price to now 401 as an average price. I mean, that's a $60,000 hike right there in the last 30 days. I think a lot of it has to do with new construction. We're starting to see more new construction builders put their properties on MLS, which is so vital. Many of them haven't because they felt with how the market was going that they didn't have to. So, now buyers, like I said, they're getting savvy. They're getting tired. They're getting tired of being beaten out. They're getting tired of builders jacking up the price. I have some folks now that are building, and during the process, we went under contract, I think, August of 20, and it's now October of 21, and we're closing next week, prayerfully, thankfully. And the builder went up $85,000 on them, and there wasn't really anything we could do. They basically said either we take it or we walk. And when my buyer decided that there wasn't really anything else that they wanted in the marketplace that met what they were getting with the house that they're under contract with now, they decided to eat it. $85,000. They decided to eat that, and they blamed it on lumber costs and labor shortages. So buyers aren't going to be having that in 2022. There's a horror story that another realtor shared with me where her buyer sold her house in California. She'd been staying here in Atlanta in an Airbnb for the last 2.5 months, waiting for her house to be finished. She's supposed to be closing the end of October, and the builder just came back to her and said, oh, we're going to have to raise the price of this house by $75,000 because we're caught up short, and we're going to pass this cost over to you, which basically is blowing her financing because she can't afford an extra $75,000. She spent $10,000 so far of her money from when she sold her house in California on an Airbnb, and she's stuck. So these buyers are not going to have that in 2022. So if you're thinking about selling, think wisely, start planning now, start getting things together, and do know that your competition is not necessarily just the other owners that are going to be selling like you in your area, but also banks are going to be coming back, the investors, the Zillows, the Open Doors. They can only buy so much real estate. They're not going to buy everything. So just make sure that you are planning that. I am seeing, like I said at the top of the video, I am seeing some price reductions. So you sellers, the ones that were sitting on the sidelines thinking that your value is going to go up and up and up and up, we're starting to kind of see things repeat themselves like they did in 07, 08, not the Great Recession, but we are seeing people being a little bit more savvy because they're just tired. They're tired of their dollar being not buying as much. And the wages are not increasing to cover the inflation that we're experiencing with the increase in housing. So I hope all that clicks and makes sense. If not, feel free to ask a question or two and I'll be glad to explain it more in depth. So that's all I have for you guys right now. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad you came and said, hey, Stacy, we'll have to talk. I haven't talked to you in forever. So I appreciate you for watching. And if you guys have any questions about the real estate market, about Mableton, about Atlanta, or about my journey as a realtor, if you're thinking about being one, let me know. I'd be glad to help you. The best number to reach me is 678-929-8330. I have it above on the banner here on my site or my YouTube channel, and I appreciate you. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next video.